Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Empire, who's going to be led by Boris Toadbringer, and the Dark Elves, who are going to be led by Big Mama Marathi. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So up here in the skies, we do of course have the glorious Boris Toadbringer. He's definitely a pretty solid pick. Now, he's not going to do as much burst damage as like Karl Franz. Of course, Franz does have the Reikland Runefang and Golem Raz, giving him bonus versus large and all kinds of aggressive stats. But Boris is a little bit more durable and independent. He has self-healing, you don't have to use Winds of Magic to top him off, and oftentimes if you do get in a bad situation, he can usually squeak away and heal, but I mean still, he does have, of course, have the same vulnerabilities as a monstrous unit, but a little bit more independent, a little bit more durable here. So on the ground, we do have the Royal Altdorf Gryphites and another group of regular Demogryph Knights. So Demogryph Knights definitely very solid. These guys hit like trucks. They also cause terror, which is pretty neat. Not all Demogryph Knights do, but the Royal Altdorf Gryphites do indeed cause terror. They're going to be riding dirty with a Warrior Priest here. So the Warrior Priest has all of these nice juicy buffs. He does have the Hammer of Sigmar, Soulfire, which actually can be pertinent against things like, I'm pretty sure Doomfire Warlocks do magic damage, or, you know, even if Marathi's using like a Soul Stealer, it does damage and also gives magic resistance, which is very neat. And then we got the Shield of Faith, which is just 22% ward save. Always a nice little perk there. Front line's going to be a bunch of Spearmen with shields. So the Empire front line typically has trouble with the Dark Elves. Sisters of Slaughter, Harganeth, you know, their infantry in general are just a little bit more cost effective. So I just usually opt to go with like Spearmen with shields. They have 44 melee defense. They're going to hold the line. And honestly, they can put a little bit of poking on those Witch Elves and do some work over a long, grindy battle. So Spearmen with shields, a pretty good front line. But I do have one greatsword here in the back. Sometimes I'll get like two greatswords and just have them as a bit of a supplement because they can hard counter the lower tier Dark Elf infantry. So I like having at least one of these guys. We got handgunners here and the silver bullets here to be taking out some of those high value targets, poking Marathi. If Malekith was there, or chariots, or, you know, even the Coldwind Riders, they're going to be helping out with those. In the back, we got a couple more groups of spearmen in reserve. So if my front line does buckle, at least I have some supporting troops. Another group of Demogryph Knights with a Jade Wizard here. So whenever you're going with Demogryph Knights or very expensive cav, I really think it's pretty much a must to bring like a Jade Wizard or some sort of healing. So that's pretty much it for my force. Pretty narrow little army here with a very heavy emphasis on the Demogryph Knights and the Warrior Priest. So it's going to be pretty gangster for sure. For my opponent, Marathi's always a really strong pick. The Heartrender and the Dark Sword plus Enchanting Beauty lowers like enemy melee attack by 18. She is very, very tough to kill. She's mobile, has some good damage spells in the Soul Stealer. And yeah, I think Marathi is a very, very good pick here. For example, if Boris gets caught in like one bad situation and Marathi kind of counter-strikes him, jumps in, rear charges him, she has bonus first large and armor piercing. She can definitely do a ton of work for sure. So you have to respect the OG mama there. Two Sisters of Slaughter for my opponent, a couple groups of Witch Elves it looks like. On top of that, he does have Blackheart Corsairs, so a very well-rounded army. Sisters of Slaughter just cut through Empire troops. These guys are just so powerful and surprisingly durable, considering they have like 5 armor. A couple groups of Dark Shards to be poking me down. They do have the shields, I think. No, they don't have the shield, so he wasn't expecting missiles from me, it doesn't look like. And in the back, he does have Dread Spears and the Knights of the Ebon Claw. So we're going to get to see these guys have a fisticuffs duel with the Royal Altdorf Gryphites most likely. But they don't have Rampage, which is kind of cool. Heavy armor piercing, really mean combat stats for sure. So 49, 58, and 48 compared to, let's see, on the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, 38, 41, and 52. So definitely a little bit of a stat advantage here. But of course, I do have the bonus first large, which kind of helps out as well. So you can see the Dark Elf forces are going to be advancing here in the desert. Both of us kind of started on the low ground. We both had kind of an unspoken gentleman's agreement to get up on the high ground and just have like a level duel here, which is going to be quite fun. Definitely a little bit worried about his infantry, the Corsairs and the Witch Elves, and he also does have the Blades of the Blood Queen here. So those guys are going to be massively outmatching my Spearmen. So I'm going to need to get a lot of value from my leadership as well as my cav and my guns here because this is a far superior infantry line to mine. Marathi in the back is going to be sitting and cackling on her steed Sulafet, which I think is what it's called. And yeah, he has Soul Blight, he has Soul Stealer, and it looks like just those spells. And I don't know if he has a wand. I think the wand is a pretty good item, but it does not look like he has that. On the far side, my opponent does have a Vanguard of Dark Riders here, so 45 here, and then I think there was another Vanguard somewhere. Yeah, it looks like on the far side there. And it's a pretty good choice. I mean, Dark Riders, a very cheap skirmishing unit. They usually, I think they always have shields actually. Yeah, do these ones have shields? Those ones don't, and I could have sworn that there is a variant of Dark Riders with shields. I'll have to take a look after this game. Getting old, guys, can't remember everything, but here you can see the Dark Shards are going to be getting in position, probably to take pot shots at my Lord, as I do fly in to kind of scout things out and feel out my opponent's position. But yeah, I take some free damage, but again, Boris does have self-healing, so that's going to be nice. You know, I don't have to use a heal, right? That's a lot of damage. Like, against Karl Franz, that would almost warrant a heal, most likely. So right now I'm positioning with the Royal Altdorf Gryphites to get a fat erect charge on the Sisters, who have pretty much no resistance against such a thing. I mean, they have a little bit of physical resist, but a full massive charge from the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, especially with the Hammer of Sigmar, is going to do huge damage. So they're at full health right now. So here comes the charge of the Gryphites, and hopefully this will do some good damage. And here it comes, just boom, slamming into those guys, massive impact. They're sent flying, and look at the damage. So these things cost a lot of gold. We got them down to below half health with one charge. So the Griffites literally almost, I wouldn't say paying for themselves, they're very expensive, but just the true alpha strike value coming in with the Hammer of Sigmar. Really happy about that. Same thing happens on the other side as well. We shoot down the Sisters of Slaughter with our guns, and then we do send Boris in to kind of wear those guys down, because if they get in that sustained combat and can start grinding and fighting, that's when the battle gets really tough for the Empire. So my Griffites are going to be charging in, as well as these Demogryph Knights helping out in the front line a little bit. In the back, the Wild Riders are getting in position as well. So I do pull back the Royal Altorf Griffites, but very good returning fire from my opponent using those Dark Shards. He definitely did some work there. But the Spearmen are now engaged, and I figured, hey, let's commit to this. Let's use my buffs. I'm going to use the Shield of Faith and charge these guys in. They're going to start fighting against the Corsairs and some of these other troops. However, bit of a mistake. I definitely thought these were just Cold One Spear Riders. I did not know they were the Knights of the Ebon Claw, but they come in and are going to do huge damage as these Knights rush in, and they're going to start fighting with the Griffites, who are up to the task, but I'm a little bit enveloped with Spearmen and Sisters of Slaughter and just all these other troops here, so that's going to be a pretty ugly fight. However, I'm getting some good focus fire here with the handgunners, shooting down his Knights, and in the main fight, the Greatswords are piling in. Boris is in there as well, causing some problems. And the Dark Riders weave through my defensive formation and actually cross back and through, so beautiful charge from my opponent. The Dark Riders are going to get into my back line, so he was able to outmaneuver my Spearmen, so very, very well played there. He had some very, very good micro. However, I'm going to collapse. Probably won't take a ton of damage because Dark Riders don't hit that hard, so at least I have the reserves to kind of help out. And right here, the Warrior Priests are the Warrior Priest uses the Grand Soulfire to kind of bombard. Sisters of Slaughter almost down. Spearmen are holding, but a very good Soul Stealer from my opponent is able to finish off the Royal Altorf Griffites. Definitely going to suck for the Spearmen as well. So I do send in my reserve Griffites, or Demogryph Knights. They're not the Griffites, but I send in the Demogryph Knights to kind of plug up the gap a little bit, try and keep this formation holding. We are able to fend off the Dark Riders here. I pull the Greatswords and the Spearmen and all those troops, and I am going to be doing a bit of a tactical retreat with the Silver Bullets, trying to reposition, because I know this front line situation isn't going to hold very well, right? That Spearmen fighting up against Witch Elves and Corsairs, who are actually broken from the focus fire from the guns here, who are doing a great job shooting into the blades of the Blood Queen. Also, these very tattered Sisters of Slaughter on the far side are pretty much losing to these Spearmen, which is great. However, we do get a really nice route here. So we lost our first group of Demogryph Knights. The Royal Altorf Griffites took a beating, but they did well. They chunked the Sisters of Slaughter down to half health. Then they charged in again, did some sustained damage against the Knights of the Ebon Claw. So it was definitely, I think, ended up being an okay trade. And then I was able to then countercharge with my Demogryph Knights and my Spearmen and get a great engagement here on the Knights, who are probably going to buckle, I would imagine. I mean, Boris Todbringer definitely is very strong, and he has some AoE debuffs as well. So we're able to break off the Knights of the Ebon Claw. They actually get terrified, which is crazy, by Boris Todbringer. And now we're into the cookie jar. So you can see the Dark Shards are going to be getting engaged on by Boris. He's going to be having a field day. Earthblood going down as well, topping off the Demogryph Knights. But Big Mama Morathi coming in, she does get a little bit of damage, and the Blades of the Blood Queen are coming, so I was like, oh god, I gotta get out of here. This is not a good situation. I'm trapped, there's Witch Elves coming, there's so much bad stuff that could potentially happen here, and yeah, it was a little bit spooky for sure. So if we look in the back of the battlefield, I'm falling back with my guns, trying to secure my formation, because I figured, hey, I can distract my opponent here. Using Boris and these forces, he's probably going to dogpile in on those guys and send forward a couple tattered groups of infantry. So then I can get my Spearmen to secure against the Dark Riders, get my gun line back online here, and you can see the Silver Bullets taking some massive pot shots in against these Sisters of Slaughter, and maybe I'll be able to break them. They do have crazy leadership, though. He still has one group of Dark Riders here, kind of threatening, but I do have a good defensive formation with Spears here and Spears here, so hopefully we can salvage the situation. Over here, though, a little bit scary. We do get enough damage to kind of rout off some of these units, but yeah, I have to fall back with the Demogryph Knights and the Jade Wizard, and this is Gotham's Reckoning. So Boris does get out of control. He gets rampaged. Morathi is here, definitely not going to get away, and Boris is probably going to shatter here in a moment. So very well played to my opponent. He catches me in one mistake, one out of position moment. He's able to get me with those Witch Elves and shatter my Lord. So I was a little bit ahead on the bounce of power, but now I've actually fallen behind, so it's looking very tough here. And the Demogryph Knights with the delayed rampage. I mean, if they're going to rampage, this is a pretty good rampage, because it was probably my next move. Anyways, they charge back into those Sisters, doing huge damage, kind of helping those Greatswords to win that battle. You can see here that the Sisters are in really bad shape. The Greatswords actually, yeah, 32 kills on these guys, 43 on the Sisters. There are Spearmen here, which is a little bit tough, but both my opponent and I are basically securing new positions on the field, right? I was able to fend off most of the Dark Riders. There are some coming back here. It looks like there's only 10 of them or something, but Morathi is taking massive gunfire from the Silver Bullets, my handguns here, so she's getting really low as well. And she's going to be charging in to support the Spears with her anti-large, and the Dark Render and the Heart Sword, Dark Render and the Heart. I'm totally getting that wrong. I'll take a look in a moment. But anyways, we are going to be trying to get Morathi a little bit, but of course he does have a lot of Spears here, so I'm not going to be wanting to stay and sustain combat. And it looks like he's also going to be dropping Soul Stealer right there, which is going to be good. It's hitting a lot of high-value targets, so well played there. But we are able to break the Sisters. Those really troops that are going to be able to kill my Spearmen very quickly. Some guns get a little bit overextended chasing into Morathi, and I have some Spearmen coming back from route who are going to be pressuring the Dark Shards. So the true heroes of the Empire marching up the hill, able to shut down this missile line temporarily, which is buying me so much time to get in position. He's going to be able to peel back some troops, some Witch Elves who are relatively quick. I think they have like 44 speed or so. And also these Knights of the Ebon Claw are going to come in. So those Spearmen making a great sacrifice for Sigmar. And the Demogryph Knights are just riding around, just cycle charging the Blades of the Blood Queen, trying to lend their aid wherever they can, and really just kind of hold my backline together. You can see these handguns are shooting in. I think they were shooting at Morathi for a moment, or maybe the Knights of the Ebon Claw, but the Dark Shards are laying a bit of hurt on me. The Dark Shards, of course, have plenty of ammunition and 125 range. I actually have more range on the Silver Bullet, so that's part of the reason why I was falling back here to try and outrange those Dark Shards and get some decent value. Anyways, right now I'm in a bit of a pickle because the Blades of the Blood Queen are breaking through. They're just mulching through my Spearmen. My Warrior Priest has come back from route right here, so I should be able to get him back to my formation. But the Dark Shards are pouring some heavy fire on my guns, and these guys are my lifeblood. They're pretty much the only thing that's keeping me in the game right now, as Morathi is just flying and cackling in the skies, and it's definitely a little bit tough here. But Demogryph Knights are no joke. I have 16 of the 24 models. I still have healing, and Morathi's coming in, so these guys are going to turn and start last samuraiing her a little bit. And yeah, we get like 300-400 damage on her. She does charge in, but my opponent really wants to shut down my gun line. But he probably thought I committed a little bit heavier into those guys, but I actually turned at the last second, and the Demogryph Knights are going to come in with a full chub for Sigmar, and they should be able to shut down Morathi and do some serious damage. So here come the Demogryph Knights. They got a nice charge on Morathi, and she's going to try and get away, but she's wavering 700, 600 HP, taking massive damage from the Jade Wizard and the anti-large bonus here. Some Corsairs are going to be rushing in to help out, but man, she is taking a beating. Now, we're not going to kill her here, but we should be able to fend her off, and from there probably be able to finish off these Corsairs. My opponent still has a lot of stuff. I mean, he's got 55 Witch Elves. He does have 61 Blades of the Blood Queen, these elite Hargoneth Executioners here. And I'm just falling back because like a lot of my troops in the front are just buckling and buckling. But the Empire, you know, they will bend, but they won't break. They keep coming back. They keep fighting. Very resilient stuff here from the Empire of Men. And the Demogryph Knights with the Hammer of Sigmar are definitely going to be quite a force to be reckoned with. Now, Morathi is back online, unfortunately. So she's here with her AoE debuffs, lowering the melee attack of my troops just by flying over me. The Demogryph Knights are going to be charging in for Sigmar, just trying everything they can to break the Blades of the Blood Queen here. The guns are falling back, the spears are falling back. I'm just trying to buy time with my cav to allow my troops to reposition. But Morathi gets up in the skies, and these handgunners right here are going to be turning and taking massive pot shots. She's at 400 HP, and just so incredibly close, 58, and Morathi's going to get gunned out of the sky because she does overcast, and down goes, oh, I was like, why is she frozen? And down goes the Hag Queen. So she's going to be falling into the pits amongst her troops, definitely going to be sending a shock of morale to the Witch Elves as they see their lord fall right in front of their faces. Now the Demogryph Knights and the Jade Wizard are going to be doing their best to kind of fight here. The Spearmen, 77 firm, are going to be holding back this tide of the Druchii here as the Witch Elves do start chasing these Silver Bullets. So I had a bit of a predicament. I was like, okay, let's take a look at the battlefield. Battle's really close. I finally pulled ahead a little bit, but he's about to compromise one of my most powerful units, which is helping me stay ahead in the Bounce of Power. But I was like, I'm not going to go after and help these guys out because the Witch Elves are going to rampage my cav. I'm going to be dragged down into the Blades of the Blood Queen. So I did see this juicy backline situation. I was like, okay, the Dark Shards are going to need to be taken out by my Jade Wizard and the Warrior Priest, as well as these Demogryph Knights. But they're taking a pounding from these, AP missiles. The other guns are going to turn and start shooting into the backs of these Dark Elves, the Blades of the Blood Queen, and the Witch Elves. Some Spearmen here are going to do the best to save these Silver Bullets the best they can. But we do get in here. The Warrior Priest, of course, has his buffs. And yes, we do get into the Dark Shards and are able to break those guys off. You can see the Shield of Faith going down, which is going to give us 22% ward save. And the Hammer of Sigmar is probably going to be coming in a moment as well, as we do get into the back line and cause some serious problems. And the Blades of the Blood Queen here are rushing back to help out, but it's too late. We were able to outmaneuver them a little bit with the Jade Wizard just dropping all kinds of Holy Sigmar fire on these Dark Shards. Now it's kind of a mass rout for the Dark Elves back here. Those Dark Shards were just a powerhouse of a unit, right? And the fact that I was able to get some rallying greatswords from this area of the battlefield, bring them back, and finish off the Dark Shards, that is going to be incredibly powerful. So right now the greatswords are going to rush in to fight the Blades of the Blood Queen, but they do not stand alone. The Demogryph Knights are charging in, the Warrior Priest with the underhanded clubs sending one of those Blades of the Blood Queen flying. And with the Demogryph Knights' help, we should be able to break off these guys. I mean, they're one of the best infantry units in the game, but we have the numbers. We have two heroes here, and the greatswords have the Hammer of Sigmar, giving them 58 melee attack, which is actually more than the Blades of the Blood Queen. Over here, the Spearmen are fighting to the bitter end against the Sisters of Slaughter, or Witch Elves, actually. And they're actually doing pretty good. I mean, the Spearmen definitely can get through the defensive stats of the Witch Elves there, but that's going to be all she wrote. So we were able to pull that one out just barely. With the persistence of the Warrior Priest and the Jade Wizard, as well as that Demogryph Knight, we were able to kind of ride around, take advantage of our mobility, and really kind of pull that game out of nowhere. It was a very close match, super fun to play for sure. So as far as the picks go, I think that Boris was fine. I made a couple mistakes. I over kind of invested him in the back line, and I got punished by the Witch Elves from my opponent. And Marathi, of course, if you make one mistake against Marathi and Witch Elves, man, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because she is fast. She can stick on a target once she gets the advantage, and it is very scary for sure. But the guns did good. Demogryph Knights did well. I was a little bit sloppy through Royal Altdorf Griffites. However, we still did bring one Sister of Slaughter down to like 40% with a single charge with the Hammer of Sigmar. And then on top of that, we were able to kind of fight off the Knights of the Ebon Claw. At the cost of most of their models and health, but I still think it ended up being worthwhile because we had to get rid of those guys. But yeah, it was a really fun game for sure. I love riding Warrior Priests with Demogryph Knights. It is so fun giving them the Hammer of Sigmar and the Shield of Faith, just all those sweet and juicy buffs. So yeah, it was definitely pretty cool. And for my opponent's army, I mean, he definitely had the advantage in regards to infantry, but I definitely had a more powerful mobile force, right? With Demogryph Knights and then Boris and a Warrior Priest. Yeah, Dark Riders and of course Marathi, but it's pretty tough to contest the Demogryph Knights once you get that mobility advantage and you're able to secure your position. But I think if you had maybe had a couple Dread Spears extra in the back to protect those Dark Shards in the late game, that would have been tough. Like if he could have stabilized those guys and shot down my leadership, who knows? But yeah, getting Marathi was huge for sure. So anyways, very well played to my opponent. Winter is coming. Look forward to running into you again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Empire vs Dark Elf game.